I'm going to suggest it's not even a lesson. It's actually mindset, it's attitude, it's taking action, it's turning up every day.
Yeah.
One of the greatest challenges, I think, in the Bitcoin community at the moment is a lot of people of its store of value, and you can't buy coffee with it, or the government's going to tax me or attack me or something like that. And as long as that attitude prevails, what we're doing here doesn't matter. And so it's not so much the lesson that can be learned, but it's the mindset that needs to be adopted, the action that needs to be adopted to really use Bitcoin to help change the world. Like, we're just an example of what's happened when you've got a government that's like, hey, yeah, go and use Bitcoin as legal tender. Like, we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. Transact freely. That's definitely helped the bottom up side, which is like, whoa, you've got no excuses to use this brand new technology. And so you've now got this meeting of parties to agree upon, yeah, let's try this brand new technology. And then having people who take action every day. I mean, Bekele's obviously buying 1 Bitcoin every day into the treasury. And then you have communities here and people here who have no reason to not use Bitcoin as a currency. You are earning every day, which most people need to do to be able to pay for food and pay for shelter, right? So the first thing that people can do is pay themselves first. And so in any community around the world, there are ways that people can exchange whatever value they've collected for Bitcoin value, right? It doesn't have to be through a government exchange. It could be peer-to-peer, but it's going to take people opening their mindsets. It's going to take people being creative and then it's going to take people saying, you know what, that system that the majority are using might not be the best system. Let me try this other system, even though I'm told it's bad or it's illegal or something, or I have to be taxed or something. Try it. More than anything, Bitcoin Berlin is proof that it can happen, but it's going to need people with the right mindset, the right attitude.
Nicki James, how did you find Bitcoin?
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. It's great to be here and to share our story.
Yeah, all the good things that are happening.
Yes.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Okay, no, I can start. So, yeah, I suppose my Bitcoin journey started. I was in the finance game. I was a mortgage broker, and in New Zealand there was a lot of changes happening in how we were having to analyze clients' counts and how clients were getting more. It was getting harder for clients to get and customers to get mortgages because we were having to analyze their bank accounts into an extreme that I didn't like, and I was finding it very tough. And that in regards to what was happening and the questions we're having to ask, where I felt it wasn't our business. And I met James and I said, oh, what are you into? And he said, Bitcoin. And I said, sweet, I need to know what this is all about because, you know, stuff's coming across my desk that I'm really finding difficult. So it was great to be able to have someone with so much knowledge to be able to grill and find out. So it wasn't, but yeah, much later that I started buying very tentatively, I must admit, my first lot of Bitcoin. But yeah, since then, though, I have sold everything and I'm fully in. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I was an influence.
Yeah. And I'm in El Salvador. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because Nicki was saying that a lot of customers, I was surprised, a lot of customers were going to her and they had cryptocurrencies and bits and pieces and they're like, hey, I'm being taxed on these things. How can I use them to demonstrate income and use them as assets against my mortgage? And I'm like, really? Like, that was really interesting for me. So yeah, it was quite interesting to hear and see that.
Yeah. And of course we were going, we're not going to take this as an income stream at all. So yeah, so it was really, it was a interesting time, to be honest. But it was great because, things were not sitting well in my stomach. With what was going on in the finance game in New Zealand or the mortgage game for people. And so all of a sudden I got, exposed to this amazing technology and asset. And it was like, yay, this is cool. Yeah.
Cool. I got a slightly longer story, but I'll try and keep it as short as possible. But I basically grew up in a entrepreneurial family. So my great-grandfather, grandfather, father, all basically ran their own businesses, which was really cool. And when I got to growing up, it was literally in factories and on the farms and bits and pieces. And I started asking questions about what is money? Like, what are we doing all this work for? And so from a very young age, I was investigating this value that I was trying to collect and accumulate. And quite quickly, I actually became a gold and silver bug once I sort of realized that there were different qualities of money. So that was probably the thing that I realized at a young age in my early teens, that there was fiat currency, but then there were these things called gold and silver, and they were supposedly like the best forms of money. And as my journey evolved down that path, I was a gold and silver bug beforehand. I eventually came across Bitcoin quite early, and we all have our war stories. And but it was a great experience. I got in when it was basically just Bitcoin and a couple of others, and then over the years, you know, you play with it, you lose some, you win some, and I eventually I was always going down the path of learning more about how to build my wealth. And the thing that you start to learn is that wealth isn't just money, but it's also the way that you can use your time, it's your health, and your time and your health become the most important things in your life. And money is just a tool that helps you use those things or enjoy those things even better. And then, yeah, met Nicki and we were both into Bitcoin, which was pretty exciting. So it meant that we had an alignment of values, which was really cool, because we started realizing that we realized the importance of time and money, which was really cool. And that, yeah, basically brought us to El Salvador.
Amazing, amazing, very good. And we're hearing a lot about Berlin, yeah, and how it has a growing reputation as a hub for Bitcoin adoption, yeah, around the world, basically, like, yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of nice stories coming out of El Salvador's, amazing stories coming out there as well. How would you describe the current state of Bitcoin adoption in the city, in Berlin itself?
It's just it's positively evolving.
Yeah.
Every day we start hearing about new vendors coming on.
Yeah, I think Berlin is a unique place. You know, it's not too big and it's not too small, which is amazing. And so you've got a city that it's beautiful, it's cool. They have a small town nearby that is filled with tourists, and Berlin doesn't get those tourists. And so all of a sudden you've got a few Bitcoiners have come on board and are involved, and they're going, well, you know, how do you want some new tourists? Do you want some people? This is how you're going to do it if you start accepting Bitcoin. And I think that has really created this opportunity for the businesses to go, okay, well, if we can show us how, you know, how can we accept Bitcoin and how can this happen, and we can get more people out.
So some of the key things about it are that the majority of the business owners here are small to medium business owners. A lot of them are family. So you will see the parents, sometimes grandparents and sometimes children, all in the same business together, which is really cool, because it's often, you know, that's the heart and the soul of a really strong community as well, because these are the people that are actually generating value, and they understand service, right? So they see the world differently, because the way they project themselves into the world ends up being the value that they're giving. So it's really important. And then also we occasionally see staff in these businesses as well, but you're only one staff member away from talking to the owner. And why that's such a huge advantage to helping the adoption here is because you can talk to the right people reasonably quickly, and that can make a big difference. So for example, if you go to Starbucks, trying to talk to a staff member there, like the chain that you got to go through to try and change something is challenging. So yeah, I think Berlin is, like Nicki said at the start, a really good size to be open for adoption.
Yeah.
And
the growth. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say the growth here, you know, there's been an amazing core, not just foreigners, but Salvadorians and Berliners who have gone, yeah, we want to make this happen. So there's been this amazing core of people who have gone around, you know, businesses, talk to businesses, and say if it's a foreigner going in and asking if they accept Bitcoin, and they go, no, we don't accept Bitcoin. But then if a Salvadorian goes in, you know, the next day or 2 days later and says, oh, you know, would you be interested in accepting Bitcoin? And they'll go, oh yeah, foreigners just came in, and so yeah, I'd love to learn how to download that wallet. And so there's this great flow on that happens here, and then there's been the classes, and what's ended up happening is we've actually ended up creating a center, a Bitcoin center here. And that has been a huge game changer as well, which has been amazing. Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Won't spoil it yet.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about the challenges that you had. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges at the beginning you've encountered in promoting Bitcoin adoption in Berlin, and how did you overcome them?
Definitely in the beginning, there's a lot of skepticism. So a lot of people, El Salvador's gone through a number of currency changes, and they're currently on the US dollar, which before that they had a cologne, which was their own currency, and that wasn't too long ago, right? So there's still a lot of people who have recent memory of El Salvador having a currency, going to the US dollar, and now it's like, oh, here's this new digital money, and a lot of people think that Bukele himself has actually created it. And so there's a little bit of a learning experience or education experience that we have to go through with a lot of the local people that, hey, no, it's actually an international technology and it's open source. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And so you really need people who have got good Spanish to be able to explain that, because we just, our Spanish isn't at that level.
So, Charlie's amazing.
Our mutual friend Charlie, he is a legend here.
And I was going to say another challenge would be the fact the Chivo, that wallet that came out, that was put out. The Chivo was put out within, was it 90 days? Yeah, really fast, which is incredibly fast how they put it out. Every Salvadorian who had a DUI got $30 put onto their Chivo wallet. Now, there's so many scammers out there that so many people got scammed and lost their Chivo wallet, lost their $30. And to them, it was just, again, another thing, it was, Bukele's just a big marketing scam, and this is just not right. So they've got all this sort of negative energy of how that happened, and of course then, and a lot of them just cashed it out. So the ones who did have it just cashed it out as well. So
and another challenge has also been some of the misconceptions that some people have had, where we will ask them to start accepting Bitcoin, and we've suggested that foreigners will come because we'll put them on the map and we'll do marketing that this town accepts Bitcoin, and so they will accept Bitcoin, and then a lot of people who aren't sure of what's really happening will expect a flood of people to come in the first week, and then so we might go back and visit them 2 months later and be like, oh hey, I'm here to buy, for example, shoes. And shoes aren't something you buy every day, right? So we went in and we said, oh, we'd really like to buy a pair of shoes, and do you accept Bitcoin? And they're like, nope. And we're like, why not? And they said, because nobody came to buy shoes with Bitcoin. And we're like,
but we're here. We want to do that.
And so that's been quite a funny experience that we've had a number of times where they've been open to accept Bitcoin. They might have already had a Chivo wallet. They may have downloaded the Blink wallet, but then they didn't get any increased business. And they're like, well, why am I doing it? So that's been a challenge in terms of expectations. And then following on from that would be making sure that one of the smartest things that Charlie and Evelyn and Gerardo have done is, when they've gone into these businesses, they said, look, if somebody comes in and pays with Bitcoin, we will also make sure you have the liquidity to get out of Bitcoin as soon as you want. And what they were doing is they were able to come and talk to these people, do the swap. And at first it was regular. Like as soon as they had a Bitcoin sale, they were like, I want my money, please. I want the cash, right? And straight away. And then it would turn into a week, and then it would turn into a month, and then it would turn into they just don't turn up anymore. And it's like, are they still accepting Bitcoin? And they are. And then what happened was people were discovering that they were actually using the Bitcoin in the circular economy. And so it's just a time process, being in the marketplace, keeping it simple. It's just a currency.
And it takes time.
And
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. They go, oh yeah, it's just going to happen and everyone's going to see Bitcoin. And that's not actually the case, because it is a slow process. We've got to go to each store one at a time. I mean, people are now coming to the center and saying, we want to start accepting Bitcoin. How do we do that? So people are starting to see the benefits of it, but it's it's only been a year,
Mhm.
and it's still, we've still got to actively go and see people,
Yeah.
make sure they understand. There's constantly courses going on at the centre. At this point in time, not as many businesses as we'd like turning up to really get a bit more understanding, but the ones who do, turn up, and they're there quite regularly.
Yeah, but as you said, it takes a bit of time, and we all understand that it takes a bit of time.
Gotta build trust.
Rome wasn't built in a day, was it?
No,
No.
absolutely. Yeah.
You're doing amazingly over there, to be honest. Yeah. Regarding the
And
community.
I was going to say one thing that was a maybe a slight issue is when there has been one phone that's got the Bitcoin wallet on it to accept, and then the owner isn't there, and it's the employee. Now the owner's not going to give them the phone because all of a sudden they've got access to their wallet and things. So what was one of the things that happened was there was a QR, a QR code put out, and so people could just scan the QR code and it went directly to the owner's wallet. So that was another really good initiative that was put out to solve that problem.
Good idea. Regarding the community, how active is the Bitcoin community in Berlin itself? Yeah. And what strategies have been effective in engaging more people and businesses in adopting Bitcoin in the area? What strategies are you guys kind of using?
It's active. There's a strong 15 to 20 foreigners that are here full-time, basically, that live here now, which is pretty impressive after a year and being 3 hours away from the main city and 1,000 meters on top of a volcano. It's not your first place to live all the time, but we enjoy the cooler weather. So that aspect of the community is really strong, which is great. And for example, regularly groups of people will meet together for dinners or to do activities together, but I don't want it to sound like we're just an exclusive bubble. There is integration with the locals as well. One of the things that we really like about, I'm sort of deviating a little bit, but I want to give context, is that we're not living in a gated community, which we were when we first came to El Salvador. Now we live in the community, and so we see a lot of the locals a lot more, which means that we interact with them more. Our Spanish has improved, and that means that, and it's the same for the other foreigners that are here as well. And because we're interacting with a lot more business owners that are Spanish, and we have to, that are Salvadorian and speaking Spanish, it means that we're having a lot more interaction with the local community. And so even though when we see our favorite restaurant, we might not talk about Bitcoin, but we've built this really cool relationship because of this mutual sort of exchange of value. And it's cool. It's strong. I'm waffling. I'll let Nicki get choosing.
So how do we, I think, again, it's the centre that has become the hub now, and so I don't know if you're going to bring that more up.
No, let's talk about the centre. We can roll into the centre.
Well, the centre, it's an amazing building. It is our third centre since we started, but this one's long-term permanent. It's amazing. So you can you can open up into the centre. You arrive and there's a cafe that Evelyn and Paddy have created there, so you can get a coffee. We've got a library with an extensive array of English and Spanish books on Bitcoin, on sovereignty, on finance that people can sit down and read if they wish. We've got a great tech centre now that's giving you some really hands-on what is Bitcoin in a way, how it works. You've got like the K1 machine, so you can buy some Bitcoin. You've got a steel backup phrase there. You've got your card, your paper backup. We've got a seed signer, so you can actually scan and see what happens. And then we've got, of course, a laptop there that then go onto the Sparrow wallet and sort of see, how that all works. We've got another computer with a little miner, and so you can actually see what's happening with the miner as well as the mempool. So it's just this whole little bench of all these little tools that people can come and experience and go, well, what is this? How do I do this? So they can, a place where they can ask questions. And we've got merchandise. So that's only the first room, and then when you go out the back and you've got a classroom with a big TV and a whiteboard and desks. So there's English classes now happening in there. There's finance classes happening in there. And it's available for people to rent, so if you've got it, or if you just want to come and teach a class, you can do it for free, if you're not charging and things like that. The next room, we've got a podcast studio fully equipped. We've got 4 microphones. We've got 3 cameras. We've even got a young Salvadorian who's just come on board in the last few weeks, who is just so interested. And so he's still at school, but he comes in when he's got free time, and he's now on the production desk. He's helping with doing post-production. He's learning all this stuff, and he's got all this amazing technology that he can now learn from, which is awesome.
He's really blown away.
Yeah.
And so I think what's happening is this center has become an opportunity, and certain people are starting to see it. And again, it's a time thing; it needs to be there. But every Monday there's a community meeting, so there's an opportunity to come and talk. The cafe there allows people to come in and interact. There's a space there to ask questions. We get people coming in to buy and sell Bitcoin, like local people coming in to buy and sell Bitcoin, ask for help with their wallets. We've had a number of people that are visiting the region come in and say, hey, I heard I could buy and sell Bitcoin here. And they'll come in and they'll actually do those trades. So that center has been a really pivotal point to give people a place that they know that they can go and talk and ask questions in a safe environment, in a knowledgeable environment. And it's been a really pivotal point.
Yeah. And it's just getting, again, just as James said, it's getting started. There's more and more people arriving, Salvadorians, Berliners coming in and hanging out and asking questions and wanting to get involved. We've got, I think, about 4 podcasts going out a week now. Which is really good.
Nice. Geez, that's very good.
Different people are using it to put their stuff out, which is great.
It's really cool.
I was recently talking to Alan Jackson. He said he was down there recently. I seen him, and I was on a Zoom with him there last week, and he's been doing. I was talking to him last year as well, but he said he had an amazing time down there, which is
he's definitely a frequent. He's probably our most frequent non-resident visitor. He's awesome. He's always got great stories. His enthusiasm is great. He's huge on adoption. He's always going into stores and asking if he can pay in Bitcoin, and his Spanish seems to be good enough where he can onboard people too. So we always appreciate a visit from Alan. And we're looking forward to him coming after adopting again as well.
Very good. Very good. Regarding El Salvador has become a vocal point for Bitcoin adoption, globally, and Berlin is really on the map now as well for the amazing work that you're doing down there. What lessons can Berlin learn and or show other towns and villages and around the world, about the approach that you took, and how to help the community and onboard people? Any lessons there that you can share with people?
Well, I'm gonna suggest it's not even a lesson. It's actually mindset. It's attitude. It's taking action. It's turning up every day. One of the greatest challenges, I think, in the Bitcoin community at the moment is a lot of people are taking a position of its store of value, and you can't buy coffee with it, or the government's going to tax me or attack me or something like that. And as long as that attitude prevails, what we're doing here doesn't matter. And so it's not so much the lesson that can be learned, but it's the mindset that needs to be adopted, the action that needs to be adopted to really use Bitcoin to help change the world. We're just an example of what's happened when you've got a government that's like, hey, go and use Bitcoin as legal tender. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. Transact freely. That's definitely helped the bottom up side, which is like, whoa, you've got no excuses to use this brand new technology. And so you've now got this meeting of parties to agree upon, let's try this brand new technology. And then having people who take action every day. I mean, Bukele's obviously buying 1 Bitcoin every day into the treasury. And then you have communities here and people here who have no reason to not use Bitcoin as a currency. If you are earning every day, which most people need to do to be able to pay for food and pay for shelter, right? So the first thing that people can do is pay themselves first. And so in any community around the world, there are ways that people can exchange whatever value they've collected for Bitcoin value, right? It doesn't have to be through a government exchange. It could be peer-to-peer, but it's going to take people opening their mindsets. It's going to take people being creative too. And then it's going to take people saying, you know what, that system that the majority are using might not be the best system. Let me try this other system, even though I'm told it's bad or it's illegal or something, or I have to be taxed or something. Try it. Like, change your mindset. Just because you're told to jump off a cliff doesn't mean you should jump off the cliff, right? And just because you're told not to transact in Bitcoin doesn't mean you shouldn't transact in Bitcoin. It can be done. And I know there's going to be scalability issues, but unless we push those boundaries as a community globally, we're not going to find better solutions faster. So more than anything, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Berlin is proof that it can happen, but it's going to need people with the right mindset, the right attitude.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think the commitment just to get it started, there's been a lot of energy put in here. It's not a financial war, but it's a emotional, sort of award that you're getting, reward, should I say, that you're getting from this. It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
No, definitely. As I keep on saying, everybody's looking at you, see what you're doing. You're doing amazing work. El Salvador is the home of the largest Bitcoin circular economy. And talking about all the different places, like, and the different areas that they're using it. Can you share your thoughts on how this has been achieved and its significance for the global Bitcoin community?
Well, I think as I mentioned, top down, because Michael Saylor said it in his latest talk at Bitcoin 24, which was basically that the best thing you could have is the government who says, hey, you should use Bitcoin, and they stay out of it. That was the summary of part of his talk. And I think El Salvador and Bukele have done that really well, where they're like, hey, look, you can use Bitcoin as legal tender, no problem. And what's happened is the people have basically ended up creating their own liquidity pools. Like, the Chivo system is there. It's not super reliable. You're actually more reliable to do peer-to-peer trades. And I think that taking responsibility of, we'll just set up chat groups around the country where we can do liquidity trades between each other, and it's really good. It's quite liquid. So I think, again, it's that mindset thing. It's taking action.
It's mindset and boots on the ground. Having people sort of actually, every time you go out, every time you spend something, you ask, do you accept Bitcoin? And if not, you ask them why not, and I mean, we had a great example last weekend. We went out for lunch with a friend of ours, and he goes to this restaurant lots and lots. He said he always asks if they accept Bitcoin. They always say no, so he just went and pulled out his credit card. But James goes,
I'm sitting there.
Sitting going, no.
My favorite question: do you accept Bitcoin? And even if I know a place accepts Bitcoin, I ask them, do you accept Bitcoin? If I know they're going to reject me, I ask them. There's no qualms.
And this guy, and James, asked if they accept Bitcoin, and this guy goes, yeah, we do. And off he went to get the point of sale system. And like, our friend just looked at us and went, they don't normally accept Bitcoin. It's so funny. But, that's what it is. It's about every time asking. And then if they don't, you talk to your waiter. If it's a restaurant, you talk to your waiter and go, well, do you have your own Bitcoin wallet? And we say, look, we want to give you a tip, but you need a wallet. So, they download the tip the wallet, and you then tip them. And that's, the way that we sort of go about it. But it's every time you go out and you go shopping. And even when they accept Bitcoin, but it's going to be really difficult because certain people's point of sale systems are not great. And you're going to hold the supermarket queue line up. You still go, I want to pay with Bitcoin. And you wait, and the queue gets longer and longer behind you, and there's people getting a little bit frustrated. But, it's also sort of showing them, guys, it's not Bitcoin, it's your system. You need to change your system, sort of thing. But
and it's part of the time preference, right? Like, we want to see people use Bitcoin more, so we're willing to invest the time in that. And we also understand that the biggest concern would be safety. In some countries, asking those questions could actually jeopardize your safety in the wrong location. So we're aware of that, and we appreciate that. El Salvador definitely has, like, the safety aspect has definitely made it easier to transact here and be open about promotion and asking the question. So that's definitely a big part of the positive top-down approach as well.
Yeah. Let's touch a little bit on safety, yeah, in El Salvador, yeah. I know, like, people that know, like, Bitcoiners have done know what's after happening in there, and the whole place has been transformed with all the gangs and everything, yeah. Talk a little bit about from somebody on the ground there, like, yeah, people that aren't from the area, yeah, that are like, let's just say tourists, but living there now. Yeah, talk to us a little bit about the safety aspect of it down there.
Yeah, so we arrived before the martial law came into play. So we arrived at the beginning of February 2022, and we had never come to El Salvador. We had never visited. We'd never been to Latin America. We sold everything up and came on one-way tickets. Those first 2 weeks were pretty nerve-wracking, to be honest. We were in San Salvador. We weren't in the best. I mean, the area was okay, but
we didn't know. Now, knowing what we know now, it was actually a pretty good area.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like that, because there was razor wire everywhere. There were dudes with shotguns in most of the major stores, and we were like, this feels sketchy.
And all the cars are tinted, so you can't see, the front windows are tinted. All those things that the regulations in New Zealand won't allow. We were faced with all of this. So for the first couple of weeks, we were sort of walking when we'd go walking, and we're watching and even looking at the Uber. We're going, oh, we're going to take an Uber, and we were checking the stars of the Uber drivers and things, because what we'd heard was not great. But the people have always been so friendly. We've never felt uncomfortable. And then about 6 weeks in, that we had that horrible weekend where there was all these murders, and we were like, we'd arranged to go down. We'd hired a car for the weekend, and we're off on a little adventure, and the first adventure we had, and we were going, oh, okay. And so we made these rules up for one another about going, okay, well, we're not going to, if anyone sort of flags us down on the road, we're not going to stop, and and all that sort of stuff. So but
we went from that extreme to the extreme today. So basically, I think what's happened is we've watched society change and evolve. In the beginning, it was razor wire and shotguns were really normal, and the people with shotguns have reduced more and more and more and more. They're not standing on most of the street frontages anymore. And the razor wire, we're noticing, it's not as new as it was, right?
Sharp.
So that's really positive. And we're seeing more people on the streets at different times, and we're seeing kids on the streets, and we're seeing a lot more interaction of community coming out and feeling free to be there, which is really awesome.
And businesses are putting signs up outside their shops, whereas in the past they were just behind gated, closed doors. You didn't know what was behind those gates. So now you're actually getting people painting signage and taking pride in their businesses and their properties and all of those things that in the past, it was all they didn't want to show
where they lived
or their business.
It was,
because they'd have to pay protection money to the gangs and all that type of stuff. That would have been big. And like most of the business were probably having to pay, were they?
Yeah, for sure. In certain parts of the country, it was definitely worse than others. Berlin wasn't affected as badly. And I think the thing that's kind of funny now is we came to El Salvador when it was still one of the most, the dangerous country in Latin America. And now we sit here and people are like, hey, do you want to go and visit such and such? And we're like, we heard that's really dangerous. And it's kind of funny to think that we came to the most dangerous country in the world to where it's probably one of the safest countries in the world. And now we ask if the rest of the world is safe. It's a funny, it really is a funny 180 that's happened.
Quite surreal. And what's the culture like, and the social differences? Have you noticed much in there? In I suppose there's a big difference from where you came into Latin America. What's it like in there?
Family's big here, really big. And I'm not saying that it's not big in New Zealand, but it's different. It's still really there's a nucleus, a real close nucleus family.
Physically close.
And so it's nothing for people to be sitting, the parents and the grandparents sitting all outside their homes, and the kids are just playing on the street. And where we are living, the families all around us, like it's all one family all around us, and so they're all living very close knit, and they're integrating. And I think that's a real big difference that I have seen. Even though you've got the big walls, everyone's outside enjoying the family time outside.
Yeah, which is really cool. Oh, it's good. The culture, it has been definitely a change for us, and something that's taking time to adjust to. We're very conscious of not wanting to bring our expectations. No, we're not here to try and tell them to change their culture, but at the same time, that they've had a really, my personal observation would be that they've had a really rough time with the civil wars and the gang violence, right? Like being trapped in homes for decades, I would say, has really hurt some of the culture of El Salvador. So I think it's taking a lot of time for them to rebuild that as well. So it's going to be a really interesting journey to watch that. And I think we're seeing it now that people are coming into the streets more and integrating and feeling more comfortable to express themselves publicly and things like that. It's going to be a huge evolution for them, I think, as a country.
And the great thing about it as well, you have definitely another 4 or 5 years ahead. With Bukele only got elected again this year. You know what I mean? So he's got another run. So in his second term, he's going to do things even better and more.
Yeah.
And
he seems to be attracting a lot of what are called the diaspora, which there's I think like 3 million Salvadorans that live overseas approximately. And a lot of them are in North America, and a lot of them are looking at coming back. And that's going to change the culture as well, because they're going to bring whatever they've enjoyed in North America down and put it in here. And we already start seeing it. We see a lot of them buying property in their favorite places, building homes to a different standard. And so, that security that Bukele has enforced is making a lot of the Salvadorans reconsider coming back. And we're seeing it a lot. We see them come in and they ask questions and they're like, wow, we couldn't believe that you guys moved here. We're Salvadoran. And it was like, should we be moving back? So that's been a really interesting experience as well.
Lovely. And then, so looking ahead, how do you see Bitcoin's role evolving in Berlin and in El Salvador? What impact do you think this is going to have with adoption? And as other countries are definitely looking, what, you know what I mean? Have they got some type of framework there that they're sharing with other countries? Or
my first Bitcoin education program, where they're educating the schools. So the teachers are going in and they're introducing it as curriculum, and there's Cubo Plus as well. And all of these things are going to make Bitcoin normal for the next few decades, because you're going to have all these children that it's going to be normal to hear the word. It's going to be normal to have the basic understanding of the technology. It's going to be normal to see signs that we accept Bitcoin here and do transactions. And I think that is going to give El Salvador a huge head start on the world in terms of being a world leader, especially if other countries want to replicate what El Salvador is doing. They're going to potentially look to Salvadorans who have got the experience. Like, there are some amazing people coming out of Cubo Plus who are amazing developers, are going to be able to put in great financial systems for local businesses, online businesses, and accelerate other countries. And that's the thing. The first mover advantage is one thing.
But the second is a whole different ballgame, because there's so many things they can learn from the first. And so it'll be, that much faster, that much, more streamlined, I would imagine. That's going to happen.
Because Bitcoin Beach took a long time. And then you look at Berlin, it was supercharged. After 1 year, it's really impressive what's happened. It is a different environment that, El Zonte is tiny. It's literally a small beach village versus Berlin, which has got close to 15 to 20,000 people in it. So they're not the same, but at the same time, I think that if somebody was to start another circular economy here, I think they could do it even faster than what we did. Just because I think the general, what do they call it, osmosis, where people sort of naturally learn it, even though they're not aware they're learning it. I think that's going to start happening more and more and more for El Salvador and for the world. The next country that goes for it, I think they could probably come to El Salvador and they would be like, yeah, these are the things that worked. And it would accelerate them fast.
That's if the government in those countries have the political will to do it. You remember, like, in your country in El Salvador, there they had the will to do it and they wanted to do it and they were doing it. You know. So that all really depends as well on the country and the government as well, I suppose, isn't it? The people that are there, the policymakers that are in there. Definitely, yeah. And are you connected much with the Bitcoin office? There's a Bitcoin office, isn't there? Where's the San Salvador, is it?
There's the San Salvador. So that's Stacey runs that, isn't she?
I think Max and Stacey are largely in charge of what happens in there, and it's a guide. It's a guide to the government. Like, it communicates between the government and the private sector to sort of make sure everybody's on path. And I think the service that they offer to keep it Bitcoin only, and then so Bitcoin only is basically the currency and legal tender, which means it has its own special opportunity. And then if people want to do securities, they can, but they need to talk to the Bitcoin office and go through that. It's not closed to securities, but securities are securities. It's not
of course.
And we haven't really, being in Berlin, because we're doing sort of grassroots art, we haven't really needed to be too much involved with them, because we're not like starting up a business or creating a Bitcoin business or I was going to say earlier, we were talking about, what we could offer other countries and things. And I think one of the countries we should be sort of looking at next would be maybe Suriname. Like, if Maya gets in as president next year, it could be quite an interesting ball game, what happens down there.
I've been following her a little bit and watching what she's doing. She's very, I think if she gets in, she's going to make the move, isn't she? And she's going to push really hard to do it. Like,
and having such a small population.
How many is there? 600,000, 700,000? It's small, isn't it? So Ireland was small. That's really small. Brilliant. Brilliant. Regarding Bitcoin Adoption Conference, I like talking to conferences. I run the Bitcoin Ireland conference here in Ireland. We've been doing it for 3 years. Next year's
right.
Awesome.
So we're building every year. We're getting about 50% growth every year on the attendees. So talk to us about Bitcoin, adopting Bitcoin conference.
So we've been to 2, so we missed the first one, but we've been to 2 of them. Always a great conference to go to. You're in Bitcoin country, Bitcoin conference. It's sort of really good place to be. And I think always the speakers have been amazing. There's been some really good speakers come along. I'm sure you've got lots to say.
It's going to be a great experience. Charlie and I are actually doing a show each week to talk about the speakers that are going to be on this season, and that's coming out of the Berlin podcast studio, which is pretty cool. So check that out, subscribe to that, give us some likes and love. I've really enjoyed the speakers and the workshops there. They're a bit more technical, so they're normally talking about largely adoption, right? Like wallets that are coming out, protocols that are coming out, systems, technologies like the NFC and bits and pieces that enable, actually I've got cards here, but that enable people to make payments easier or receive payments easier, and maybe even improve security or privacy and things like that. So it's a great opportunity to actually network with some really focused people. Like, these are people that are pretty committed. I mean, it's not El Salvador is like a filter, right? So to come to El Salvador is not an easy decision. And I think I'm surprised at how many people don't come, considering it's Bitcoin country. It's the first Bitcoin country in the world. The tickets are relatively cheap compared to what you pay for in the States or something like that. And coming and listening to some of the people that are going to be speaking. I know you can go and check out the YouTube channel and listen to some of the past talks. There's some really interesting things. I think this year is going to be good because things have changed a lot. And there's some great technology and ideas that are being implemented. And El Salvador is attracting a lot of people who, like, for example, Blink, Galloy Money, because of the freedom they've got of legal tender, it makes it really easy for them to move quickly and innovate. And they've put out a lot of good products and innovations. And I think others are seeing that and moving to put more out here.
Yeah. And that's on in November, is it?
Yeah, so that's the 16th, 15th, and 16th,
the Friday and Saturday. I think tickets at the moment are $300. You need to buy them this month. You got what 20 days before the price goes up again. So get on it. Well, depending on when you get this video, but yeah, it's a good idea to come a little bit earlier because there's actually going to be a film night beforehand, and you never know.
And My First Bitcoin got their unconference too on the 14th. So they've got that.
And then afterwards, it's a good idea to stay a bit longer because there's so many things to do. You meet all these people and they're like, hey, have you been to the largest circular economy in El Salvador? And they're like, no, I was going to go to Bitcoin Beach. I didn't know there was another one. And it's like, yeah, you got to go to Berlin.
Yeah.
So these conversations happen when you start talking to people who are excited about being here and seeing things, and you end up wishing you'd stayed another week. So book time around the conference as well. I mean, it's El Salvador. You're making the trip. I make most of it. There's so many good things to do. And
it's on my list. It's on my list anyway. We're definitely coming. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Probably not this year, but hopefully next year. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, because we like to go to events. Yeah, me and Laura go to events, and we bring our baby Theo, Bitcoin baby. You know what I mean? We've been to a good few events now. We've been to Amsterdam. We went to Madeira this year, and we bring them to different events all the time. Like, yeah, so we'll be coming, and we normally bring about 20 or 30 people with us as well from Ireland. Oh, so when we're coming, we're coming. The Irish are coming.
Oh no!
What an entourage, man!
That's it.
You'll have to do some research on the. We should get Charlie to find some Irish bars and make sure they're ready for you.
Yeah.
Definitely. He knows we like to drink as well. You know, the Irish have a few sessions. Yeah. And amazing. Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to tell us about Berlin before we sign off?
I mean, if you're coming to El Salvador, San Salvador is a great experience. You know, there's a lot of good things happening in there. A lot of people love to go to Bitcoin Beach and see where it all started, and it's definitely recommended. Check out the farmers market. Try and get a Sunday in when you're there to go and see that. And you know, have a Lightning wallet so you can buy things with Bitcoin. And then also budget time to come to Berlin. It's about 3 hours away from the beach, but it's definitely an experience worth having. We've got over 120 businesses that are on the map and accepting Bitcoin Lightning without any issues. And it is a really good experience. They're all within pretty much walking distance. It's not like San Salvador where there's like 100 and something businesses, but they're spread out over. You need an Uber to go to one to one. So yeah,
it is. Yeah, you need to come and experience it. And I think also if you do come, check out our newsletter, because we have a calendar on there of all the events that are happening. So every week there's events happening now. You know, multiple events happening every week in different parts of the country. So so you can sort of schedule your time to come and see those events and do those things. Like Bitcoin Beach are now doing a trip to La Playa, Isla La Playa, which is a Bitcoin island, which is just actually, it's about an hour drive from us, but you actually have to get a boat to go out and see it. And it's quite remote. It's
very remote.
But it's an experience and well worth, if you're coming to El Salvador, to go and check it out. So there's so many places and things to do here. So
when we come, we'll be coming for at least 2 weeks, maybe a month.
At least you need
at least 2 weeks. You have to. You're traveling all the way over there.
We had a German family turn up. They've just gone back. And they said they were here for 3 weeks, and they said 3 weeks wasn't enough. They've got to come back again. Yeah.
And they really packed it in. Like, they drove a lot over the country. It's a small country. You can get across it within 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
But, there's so much to see and do, even though it's such a short distance. Yeah. It's really cool.
So, no, it's a great place to come and check out.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you and you want to sign up for the newsletter or your Twitter handles, or do you want to get you on a podcast again?
Yeah,
How would
we keep
they?
it simple. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We keep it simple. It's NJ, so Nicki James, elsalvador.com. So njelsalvador.com. We're also on Twitter with that handle, or X.
Yeah.
We have a Nostr profile, and we do have a newsletter which goes out every week. And we also do a weekly live show. And what's probably on YouTube, and what's probably awesome about that is you're welcome to come onto the live show, and we have a Q&A section at the end where people can ask whatever question they want.
Yeah.
And we'll do our best to answer it in the space that's there. And we talk about what our life is like in El Salvador each week, and we have a lot of technology on there, which is fun, like Bitcoin Lightning technology, to try and show how it can be used. So yeah, check it out.
Just the ease of using it. Yeah,
it's fun.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. We'll put all the links in the description below, and give a like to the video and subscribe. Yeah, and catch Nicki and James on their own podcast, and we'll put all the links below anyway. Yeah. So thanks for your time, Nicki and James.
No problem, Lawrence. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks
really
for
good.
sharing it.